For 60 years I have walked this earth. I have made mistakes that still haunt me at 3 in the morning. I have built things only to watch them fall apart. And I have loved people who never truly saw me. But today I want to share with you the one truth that changed everything. A truth that, no matter who you are, I'm sure will change your life. I should warn you that what I'm about to tell you may bother you at first. It may make you uncomfortable. But if your life truly isn't the way you want it to be in every area, this is probably the solution. And if you don't believe me, let me tell you that at my age, I don't care about views. And I certainly don't want to fill my dirty ego with likes and comments. I'm doing this because I know it's essential, and time keeps running. I was 23 when I got married. Sarah was beautiful, ambitious, everything I thought I wanted. We met at a company party. I worked in accounting, crunching numbers for a firm that sold industrial parts. I was good at it. Reliable. That word would haunt me for decades. We married fast. Had our first child at 25, Daniel, then Emma 3 years later, and Michael 5 years after that. 3 children. A mortgage. The American dream that felt more like a trap with every passing year. I worked 60-hour weeks because that's what good fathers did. You provided. You showed up. You said yes to every overtime shift, every weekend project, every emergency that wasn't really an emergency. At work, I was the guy everyone came to for favors. At home, I was the fixer, the mediator. Sarah would come to me with every complaint. My children learned that Dad was always available, always ready to drop everything for their needs. I thought this made me a good man, but it was slowly killing me. By my mid-30s, the more available I became, the less people appreciated it. Sarah stopped saying thank you. My children expected rather than requested. I had become furniture. Functional, but completely invisible. I began having chest pains at 38. The doctor said stress, prescribed medication. But how do you slow down when everyone needs you? So I took the pills and kept going. The breaking point came at 54. 31 years at the same company. They restructured. I was let go with a severance package that felt like an insult. I came home and told Sarah. She didn't ask if I was okay. She asked how we would pay the bills. In that moment, I realized I had spent 3 decades being available to this woman, and she had never once truly asked me how I was. That night, I lay in the dark and felt more alone than ever. No job. Children who only called when they needed something. A wife who saw me as a provider, not a person. A body that ached with exhaustion. I had given everything to everyone, and what did I have left? Nothing. Not even myself. The next morning, something shifted inside me. I can't explain it with logic. It wasn't a decision so much as a recognition, like suddenly seeing a door you've walked past every day of your life. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror, really looked, and I didn't recognize the man staring back at me. Hollow eyes, slumped shoulders, a face that wore decades of putting others first. And I made a choice, a terrifying, selfish, necessary choice. I decided to stop being available, not completely, not cruelly, but consciously. Selectively, protectively. It started small. Sarah asked me to drive her to her sister's house an hour away. Normally, I would have said yes immediately, rearranged my entire day, filled the tank, made sure the car was clean. Instead, I said, not today. just like that. 2 words that felt like I was committing a crime. She looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. What do you mean, not today? I mean, I'm not driving you today. You can take your car or ask someone else. But you always drive me. I know, I said, but not today. The silence that followed was thick with confusion and something else. Something I would come to recognize as the beginning of respect. She didn't argue. She took her own car. And the world didn't end. My son Michael called that week. He needed money. Again. He was 29, working a job he hated, living beyond his means. I had bailed him out more times than I could count. This time, I said no. He was angry. He accused me of not caring about him, of being a bad father. I listened to his words and felt their weight, but I didn't change my answer. I love you, I told him, but no. He hung up on me. Didn't call back for 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks, something remarkable happened. I didn't feel guilty. I felt lighter. At first, the guilt tried to creep back in. Old patterns are stubborn. They whisper in your ear at 2 a.m. They tell you you're selfish, you're wrong, you're failing everyone. But I noticed something interesting. Every time I felt guilty for saying no, I would ask myself a simple question. If I say yes, am I doing it from love or from fear? Fear of disappointing someone, fear of being seen as difficult, fear of losing their approval, their affection, their presence in my life. And every single time, the answer was fear. I wasn't helping people because I genuinely wanted to. I was helping them because I was terrified of what would happen if I didn't. That's when I started to understand what was really happening. My availability had never been about generosity. It had been about control. If I was always there, always helping, always saying yes, then people would need me. And if they needed me, they wouldn't leave me. But here's the cruel irony. They left me anyway. Emotionally, they had left me years ago. I was just too busy being useful to notice. I started saying no more often, not to hurt anyone, but to protect something precious that I had neglected for 6 decades, myself, my energy, my peace. When neighbors asked me to help with projects, I declined. When extended family expected me to host holidays, I suggested someone else take a turn. When old colleagues called asking for favors, I politely refused. And people were shocked. Some were angry. A few completely disappeared from my life. But the most surprising thing happened with those who stayed. They started treating me differently. They asked before assuming. They respected my time. They actually listened when I spoke instead of waiting for their turn to request something. Sarah noticed too. At first, she was frustrated, resentful. She would make passive-aggressive comments about my new attitude. But slowly, something shifted between us. We started having real conversations, not about bills or schedules or who needed to pick up milk. Real conversations about our lives, our fears, our dreams we had buried under 30 years of routine. One night, about 3 months into my unavailability experiment, she asked me, "What happened to you?" I thought about it carefully before answering. I stopped abandoning myself to be convenient for everyone else. She was quiet for a long moment, then she said something I'll never forget. "I think I've been doing the same thing." And I didn't even realize it. The internal changes were profound. When you stop pouring all your energy outward, it has nowhere to go but inward. And what I found inside myself was both beautiful and terrifying. For the first time in decades, I had silence. Real silence. Room to breathe. Room to hear my own thoughts without the constant static of everyone else's needs. In that silence, I confronted what I had been running from. I was angry, deeply angry, at Sarah, at my children, at my employer, but most of all at myself for allowing it all, for confusing sacrifice with love. I spent weeks sitting with that anger, not acting on it, just acknowledging it. And gradually, beneath the anger, I found grief. I was grieving the life I could have lived if I had learned this lesson 30 years earlier. But grief, when you truly feel it, transforms into acceptance, peace, even gratitude. I couldn't change the past, but I could change right now. The peace that came was unlike anything I had experienced, not the peace of having everything figured out, the peace of no longer needing to figure everything out, the peace of knowing that other people's emotions were not my responsibility to manage. I started taking long walks, just me, no destination. During these walks, I practiced what I call conscious solitude, different from loneliness. Loneliness is the ache of wanting connection. Solitude is the choice to be with yourself and finding you're actually pretty good company. My health improved. The chest pains decreased. My sleep got better. My doctor was amazed. What I was doing was simple. I was no longer carrying the emotional weight of 30 other people. But the most significant change was this. I started to like myself again. I wasn't the most successful person. I had made mistakes. But I was honest. I was real. I was finally becoming authentic. I realized that all those years of being available had kept me from ever truly being present. I was always thinking 3 steps ahead. Who needs what? What problem is coming next? I was so busy managing everyone else's experience that I never actually had my own. Now, when I read a book, I actually read it. When I ate a meal, I tasted it. When I looked at Sarah, I saw her as a person, not a list of needs. And seeing her that way allowed her to start seeing me that way too. The transformation affected every area of my life in ways I never anticipated. I found a new job, but this time I set boundaries from the beginning. No overtime unless absolutely necessary and fairly compensated. No being the go-to person for everyone else's problems. No confusing dedication with self-destruction. My co-workers respected it. In fact, they respected me more than they ever had when I was the yes man at my old job. Because people don't actually respect doormats. They use them and forget about them. My relationship with my children evolved too. Daniel, my oldest, was the first to really understand what had happened. He came to visit, and we sat on the back porch, drinking beer and watching the sunset. He said, "Dad, you seem different, calmer or something." "I am," I told him. And then I shared with him what I had learned about availability and boundaries, about confusing love with rescue, about how the greatest gift you can give your children is not solving all their problems, but showing them how to solve their own. He listened, really listened, and then he said, "I think I needed to hear that. I've been doing the same thing with my wife." That conversation meant more to me than 3 decades of being his emergency contact. Because for the first time, we were talking as 2 men trying to figure out life, not as a father-child dynamic where one person has all the answers. Emma took longer to adjust. She was angry with me for a while. She felt like I had withdrawn my love when I withdrew my constant availability. But gradually, she came to understand. She told me months later that watching me set boundaries had given her permission to set her own. She had been drowning in her career, saying yes to every project, every request, every demand. She started saying no, and her life improved dramatically. Michael, my youngest, is still working through it. He calls less often now, and when he does call, sometimes there's resentment in his voice, that I love him enough to let him be angry. Because my job is not to make him comfortable with my boundaries. My job is to maintain them and trust that he'll eventually understand. The friends who stayed in my life became true friends. The ones who disappeared revealed that they were never friends at all. They were beneficiaries. And that's okay. I don't harbor bitterness toward them. They were doing what I had trained them to do. Use me. I just stopped being available for that transaction. I joined a philosophy discussion group at the local library, bunch of retired folks and a few younger people interested in big questions. We meet twice a month and talk about meaning, purpose, existence. For the first time in my life, I'm engaging with ideas not because they're useful, but because they're interesting, because they make me think, because they feed something in me that I had starved for decades. I started writing too. Nothing fancy, just thoughts, observations, reflections on what I was learning. Writing became a way of processing the transformation I was undergoing, a way of making sense of 60 years of confusion and the clarity that was finally emerging. The peace I found wasn't constant. Some days were hard. Some days the old patterns would try to reassert themselves. I would catch myself about to say yes when I meant no, about to apologize when I had done nothing wrong, about to explain myself when silence was the better answer. But each time I caught myself, I would pause, breathe, remember what I had learned, and choose differently. What I discovered is that peace is not a destination. It's a practice, a daily choice to honor yourself even when the world pressures you to abandon that honoring. It's the willingness to be misunderstood, to be called selfish, to be accused of changing, and to know deep in your bones that you haven't changed. You've just finally become yourself. Now I want to speak directly to you. What I'm about to tell you might save you decades of pain. Stop being available to everyone right now. I'm not telling you to become cruel. I'm telling you to become selective. Your time, your energy, your emotional capacity are limited. When you treat them as unlimited, you bankrupt yourself spiritually. Learn to say no without guilt. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify it or explain it. When someone asks you for something and you don't want to do it, say no. Then stop talking. The discomfort you feel is old conditioning. Sit with that discomfort. Don't act on it. Understand that not everyone deserves access to you. You've been taught that being good means being accessible to everyone. That's a lie. Your presence is valuable. Your attention is precious. People who don't respect that don't deserve it. Stop explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. I spent years trying to make people understand my perspective. It was exhausting and pointless. People who want to misunderstand you will always find a way. Let them. Your peace is more important than their perception. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Every time you engage with someone who drains you, you're dying a little. Spend your energy wisely. Invest it in relationships that give back. Accept that some people will leave when you stop being useful. This is not a loss. It's clarity. They were never with you. They were with what you provided. Mourn them if you must. But don't chase them. Don't apologize for becoming unavailable. Build a life you don't need to escape from. Most people are so busy being available to everyone else that they never build a life they want to live. Look at your life right now. Is this what you want? If not, what are you going to change? Not someday. Today. Practice solitude regularly. Spend time alone. Not scrolling on your phone. Actual quiet time where you sit with your own thoughts. This will be uncomfortable at first, but this is where you'll find the answers. Remember that being misunderstood is the price of being authentic. Some people will call you selfish when you set boundaries. Let them. You've stopped betraying yourself. If they cannot celebrate that, they don't belong in your life. Trust that the right people will respect your unavailability. When you stop being available to everyone, people who truly value you won't disappear. They'll adjust. They'll respect your boundaries. The relationships that remain will be deeper and more authentic. Know that it's never too late to start. I was 54. More than half my life spent getting it wrong. You're younger. You have time I didn't have. You can start now, but only if you're brave enough to disappoint people. Only if you're willing to be alone for a while. Only if you can sit with the discomfort of being misunderstood and still choose yourself. I'm 60 years old now. I don't have decades ahead of me, but the time I do have is mine, fully mine. I wake up and I don't dread the day. I look at Sarah and I feel affection instead of obligation. I talk to my children and I'm present with them instead of anxious about them. This is what's possible when you stop being available to everyone and start being present to yourself. This is the peace that comes from finally choosing you. My life was falling apart until I understood this. And now I'm living, really living. For the first time in 60 years, I'm here, fully here. And I want that for you too, not 60 years from now. The world won't end. It will just become clearer, quieter, more real. That's my story. That's what I learned when everything fell apart. I hope you don't need to hit rock bottom like I did. I hope you can learn it now while you still have time to live it fully. You deserve a life where you're not constantly exhausted, where you're not invisible in your own story. Choose yourself every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's the secret. That's what saved me. And I believe it can save you too.